is LBC News.
Good evening, good to have your company. 7:22 now this Monday evening. James Hanson here with you on LBC News between now and 10. Our top story tonight, and a report into grooming gangs has found authorities avoided investigating ethnicities or cultural factors. The review by Baroness Casey has found there was a collective failure to address such questions. Well, we can speak now live on LBC News to Lucy Duckworth, a policy advisor at the Survivors Trust. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, Lucy. What do you make of the findings and recommendations of Baroness Casey's report?
I think that it's always really good to be talking about this epidemic that we have in this country of child sexual abuse in all its forms. We know that from the independent inquiry into child sexual abuse, which ran for 8 years, that we have an awful lot to do to stop all forms of child sexual abuse in this country and to hold the perpetrators to account. And much of that, as Baroness Casey's report highlights, is a change in culture. And we are all responsible collectively for that change in culture, and we must all take action to make sure that happens regardless of what job we have or what role we play in society. It's so important that we don't shy away from this topic, however uncomfortable we find it. And I think that that's very clear from both the ICSA recommendations and Baroness Casey's recommendations today.
And do you think it has taken too long for this national inquiry to be announced into grooming gangs specifically?
I think any action that we are taking on really truly understanding this subject and taking the action that's needed has taken far too long. We're holding, before this came out, we're holding a big event on Thursday to look at this, and one of our statistics is it was 978 days since the last inquiry's final report was published. It had 20 key recommendations in it. We only have 2 that have been implemented. That is shameful for any government. The current government will say that under the last one they did nothing for 18 months. That's true, but it was back in January that Yvette Cooper, our Home Secretary, said she would implement all recommendations in full, including, most crucially, the Child Protection Authority. Now, Baroness Casey's recommendations today are based on the fact that ICSA and all its recommendations would also be put into place. So yes, I think it's taken far too long for us to have this conversation. What I'm worried about is that we're continuing to politicise this and continuing to have the conversation around who should have done what, rather than actually putting the action in place, putting funding into support services and putting funding into true prevention, which we're simply not seeing under this current government.
And what are the key things, Lucy, you want the National Inquiry to get to the bottom of?
I want them to better understand the data around all of this, and that's obviously something that ICSA recommended as well. We have to have mandatory sharing of information to do with this crime for both perpetrators and victims. We have to understand what rape is, and Baroness Casey's report made that very clear, that is penetrative sex with anybody under the age of 16, and there is no such thing as a consensual relationship with a child under the age of 16 with an adult over that age. And that's where I talk about culture, because that's not just down to legislation, that's down to all of us adults knowing that that's the case and calling out behaviour when we see it. I think we desperately and urgently need our Child Protection Authority, an authority that is looking at this across all government departments, because currently it is split between the Home Office and Ministry of Justice, the Department for Education, and that's why it's taking so long. There is just too many different ideas floating around different departments, and actually we just need to put action in place right now. Further as well, the government have this, they know what to do, they've got the blueprint, now they've got Baroness Casey's report, and I think what we really need to see without any further delay is a clear timeline that we can hold the government to account on what the next steps are.
And Lucy, you referred to this earlier, this issue as an epidemic of child sexual exploitation and also of grooming gangs. Of course, there has been a focus on some of the historic cases, but sadly, this is still a very live issue.
It certainly is. Cases are rising. I mean, look, we're in a situation, we've got estimated 1 in 4 people have experienced sexual violence of some kind. We've got 14 million adult survivors in this country. These are staggering numbers. They affect, that's up to 5 children in every classroom. We have to act, and we keep talking about it, but not actually putting the things in place. And yet our criminal justice system is simply not coping with these prosecutions and with these investigations. And this problem is now so big, we know we can't arrest our way out of it. It's much bigger than that. So, we are all responsible for not causing panic among children and parents, but to just change that culture and start understanding how this crime begins and where we can intervene earlier to stop it happening.
Lucy, really appreciate your time this evening. Thank you so much. Lucy Duckworth, Policy Advisor at the Survivors Trust.
LBC News.